you know. In other words, not firmly sitting, but just like that. So that really, just regarded as a poetic expression of being inhabitants of.
Thank you very much. We have a next question by Mr. Natalie.
Good evening. I would like to know your outlook now that St. Kitts and other Caribbean islands no longer growing sugar cane for the purpose of making sugar. What do you think about that? Is that the best thing?
Well, only the Kittitians can decide. I thought that come out of sugar long ago. Now, that, you know, sugar, of course, is a very emotive crop. And as long as they can put the land that they're taking out of sugar into other productive exercises, that's fine with me. It will probably rid at least one territory of that emotive slave crop. But of course I hope they are not going to displace hundreds of thousands of people who can't get work. But that has not been the case because they have had to import labor from elsewhere. And of course the price on the international market is not worth it. In fact, it's cheaper to buy the sugar from elsewhere than to produce it, because we send it, it gets refined, and as the metropole does, they send it back to us wrapped in tinsel and cost a whole lot of money. So there is sense in that particular option. Jamaica at the moment has just decided to get out of, to close down 2 sugar factories, and in fact to morph sugar cultivation and manufacture to produce ethanol. More ethanol, just enough sugar to sell on the international market as long as they will accommodate us. But it has been very hard, and we in Jamaica have been grappling with this for a very long time. The important thing is that this must not be done at the expense of employment of people. I presume that St. Kitts, which has been thinking about this for some time, has it worked out properly. But, you know, I'm not for one moment saying that we should get rid of sugar, as Dr. Guadeloupe points out, that the past is the memory of the present is a hope for the future. And that kind of continues. There's a marvelous African proverb which goes that all of us sitting in this room are the manifestation of those gone, those living, and those yet unborn, which is a marvelous thing of the continuity of life and existence. But if, in fact, it's not economical to, or not economic to produce sugar, then we should get out of it, as long as we replace it with something which makes sense for the economy.
Thank you very much. I have another question from Mr. Percival.
How do you teach the youth to hold on to their culture with the bombardment of another culture, say from the US, through cable, through the internet, and through the influx of newcomers to the island?
Very good question. I'm not sure what you mean by newcomers. Do you have tourists who spend a long time here? You do? All right, well, you'll have to cope with them in one way or another. But I think that is a responsibility in a globalized world. You can't keep people, you shouldn't keep anything out. In the past, you didn't keep anything out, you know. That is one of the interesting things. We are a very deeply textured people, and we must never lose that opportunity. But underlying all of this, there are certain contours of reality which we have to appreciate. Otherwise, we'll just be boxing from one thing to the next, and we don't want that. So your teaching profession is very critical in this. I used to tell the late Sir Lyndon Pindling of Bahamas, don't keep out CNN, don't keep out ABC, CBS and whatever. Let it all come in. But you must have an alternative for your young people. Because it's strange. They will not incidentally stay at home and look at the television if you have something interesting which involves them locally. And this has been our experience in Jamaica. I remember when television and cable came in, everybody was worried that the theater is going to die. People were, that's not so at all. It is, I mean, people want to go out and see themselves reflected. What is bad about much of the television is that our own people don't see ourselves on it. We are constantly seeing other people. So it's a perfectly legitimate form of communication, except that it excludes us. And that works to our advantage if we know how to exploit it, by giving the young a sense of self and sense of place. The school is very, very important in this area, and the teachers are critical. From primary school, basic school, right through to university, it's critical to develop that sense of self through involvement and engagement with the products of the creative imagination and the creative intellect. And I don't think we'll have to worry. In fact, the sophistication to which Dr. Guadeloupe refers is precisely because many of us as good old colonials had to learn so much about other people's things that when we get to Amsterdam or Rotterdam, we know much more about that place even than the people themselves there. So the problem is that sometimes some of us know so much about them and very little about St. Martin. And that should, there's not an option there. We should know about everything.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Mr. Shujarat.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, panelists. My question, thank you very much, Professor Leonard, for outlining the dangers of multiculturalism. And just to go in the same line that you mentioned about us knowing about the colonial countries, I happened to travel with a family member of mine one time, and the first thing he did when you get a skip on the airport is to look at the ceiling for the clock that he heard so much about. And indeed it was there. My question, however, goes to Mr. Guadeloupe. Can you please define the discontinued feud that you talk about?
Defining that disgruntled few. Well, like I said in the piece that I presented, there are some locals that do have grievances, and I think those grievances should be taken seriously. But having spent field work on this island a whole year, I recognize that the vast majority of St. Martiners are fairly comfortable with the situation. They have issues that they have to deal with, but they're fairly comfortable with the island, and they do like the island. So that little group that does feel grievances because they feel that their island is being taken over, they feel that they are losing out, one should give them a podium to speak, but one should engage them also critically, I believe. Yeah.
He's asking, Shujarat is asking, so why turn them, why do you still consider them disgruntled?
Then I don't understand. If you feel grievances because you feel that your island is being taken over, you feel that you are losing out, then I think the term disgruntled fits. But if you wish another term, then okay. Yeah.
Yeah. One more question from Dwight Barron.
Yeah, my